Dam's in the building.
RVD, RVD, RVD.
Good times, Rob Van Dam, good times. Sounds like my mic's too loud. Boom. Boom. So here we are, Rob, another Wrestlecon. What does it feel like to be back in front of the most appreciative and supportive independent wrestling audience on the planet?
Feels good, man. Lots of love, lots of positive energy from the fans, which RVD gets a lot everywhere.
Sure.
But I feed off of that. You know, like yesterday I showed up and I was, you know, it's like I need some coffee coming in the morning, you know, like kind of, oh my God, boom, right away after the first few fans tell me how much I've impacted their lives and inspired them, all of a sudden I'm fired up like, yeah, this is fun, let's go. I enjoy meeting all of you.
That's what's up. This is such a great thing, such a great assemblage of talent that Wrestlecon puts together every year. Here in the shadow or sharing the spotlight with something like WrestleMania. I'm curious, it being WrestleMania weekend, do you have any big WrestleMania moments as a young man, as a fan, or from your own career that you'd like to share with the capacity crowd, Rob?
I was at WrestleMania 3 as a fan.
Sure.
Yeah, Pontiac Silverdome, when Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. From my personal experiences at WrestleMania, I mean, I think everybody remembers WrestleMania 18 when I beat William Regal for the Intercontinental title. Yeah, remember that? And still the biggest crowd I've been in front of, like 72,000 people. Yeah. So that was cool. And then the WrestleMania, I think it was 20 in Detroit, when the ECW Originals wrestled the New Breed. And what I'll always remember about that was that I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan. This is in Detroit, which is right by there. It's like my home show. And end of it is RVD with the 5-star frog splash, all about me. But they didn't have room to bring any RVD t-shirts.
What?
Because you gotta have 8 Cena shirts, 8 DX shirts, you know, he's been on the card.
Sure.
So I always remember that.
It's almost like the politics in a way can affect the performers and their earnings. Is that what you're getting at, Rob?
Almost like that.
Almost.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be taking some questions here from the audience too, because it is 420 somewhere, possibly in row 2. I think I see a vape pen.
Hollywood Jimmy Love from DCCW, baby. Hey, I understand we had a conversation a few years ago. You was doing a TNA show in Jacksonville, and you explained to me your love for the silent movies. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Your love of silent films, Rob Van Dam, is this true?
Well, I would imagine from the conversation it must have had to do with my interest in Hollywood history and movies, which now has transferred over to mafia history. But I filmed this movie, Wrong Side of Town, and it was in Hollywood, and it was at the old Columbia studio. So while I was there, I was starting to get a feel of the nostalgia, the Three Stooges posters hanging up,
sure,
all the history, and I really got into it, because when I'm really interested in something, I can totally geek out in it. You know, I'm actually more of a reader than a wrestler by nature. I just do this because I can.
Right.
But so,
and it pays for the books.
Dude, I love the 1920s, and during that time, the movies were still like they were just getting on their way.
Sure.
First Hollywood movie, first feature-length movie was made in Hollywood, December 1913. It was called The Squaw Man, and it was from the Jesse Lasky Productions, which would eventually become Paramount. And the barn that they shot that in is still there across from the Hollywood Bowl. It's a $5 museum where you can see all the old cameras. There's menus from the old Hollywood restaurants that aren't there anymore, the old Hollywood Hotel. And anyway, it's a place to geek out in, and I love that because I don't know if everyone knows or if you care, but we're talking about it, so. It used to be, when they were first making movies, the actors were looked down upon because it was a very religious time, and actors were immoral. They would sleep in the daytime and work at night, horrible stuff like that, and they were into partying, and there was signs on the restaurants that would actually say, no dogs, no actors allowed. Yeah, and at the hotels, there's a hotel right on Hollywood Boulevard called the Hillside or Hillcrest or Hillview, shit.
Something on a hill. Hill-related.
I think it's Hillview. And Jesse Lasky, he made this so that actors would have a place to stay because nobody else wanted them there. And my point is that I think is interesting is not long after that, the actors were gods.
Right, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then you had everybody wanted to be like what was the sex symbol guy that Roman I gotta his name right now. The silent screen actor that he would kiss females and they would like pass out and all that shit. Anyway, everybody wanted to be like him, then everyone's signs changed to like Marilyn Monroe gets her haircut here. It was years later, but it's a good, I like that transition.
Right, they started at the bottom and then they flipped the whole script on everything.
And
from looked down on to looked up to.
Yeah, in 1928 they added sound to the movies with the jazz singer, Warner Brothers, and then boom, all these good actors that had shitty voices didn't have jobs anymore.
That's amazing, great question, sir. Great answer, Rob. We have a question here from the front.
Oh, would you please expand on the Ted DiBiase kissing the foot story? How did you get picked? Were you already thinking about becoming a wrestler at that time? Did that have any influence on it? And any other thoughts you have on it, like what it was like for you?
Yeah, I probably already wanted to be a pro wrestler. I just started going to the live, yes. My very first live match that I went to, which was WWF, that was where the seed was planted. So ever since then, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. So sometime within the next couple of years, as a fan, out of passion, I was just in the crowd like you at the Kellogg Center Arena, and it was what we called house shows, which means there was no cameras, but they were filming a special vignette. They brought the cameras out, everybody knew it was a big deal, they were going to be filming something, so I crashed the gate, ran all the way down to the gate to wherever my seat was, and that's how, when he said he needed a volunteer, that's where he was like, my best friend that was next to me swears that he pointed at him, and I just jumped over first. But I was picked right out of the crowd, no connections, no inside, nothing. That was my first wrestling money, $100.
Wow.
Yeah, and afterwards, once I got into it, I've actually wrestled for less than that, now that I think about it. My pay went down and then back up.
Hey there, Rob.
We have another question from the audience.
Rob and Dan, this is a total honest speech, you know. I travelled from South Wales, and this is well worth it. My greatest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 18, Toronto Sky Dome. The opening of WrestleMania 18, you came out against William Regal. What were your thoughts walking into Toronto Sky Dome that night?
Well, I was excited to wrestle in front of such a big crowd, which is always a pleasure, you know. It's really intimate, and if there's enough people, then there's a theory that we say, like, it doesn't matter, you know, if you can wrestle in front of a small crowd or a big crowd, you're still going to give them all a connect. That's true, but when there's a way bigger crowd, it's a different experience. Being WrestleMania, that was an experience, and then I knew that I would have the match, it would be on DVD, there'd be a video game made of it, there'd be an action figure made of me, that match. So on the business end, there's a lot going into it that I was excited about. Something that you might not think of is when a building is that big, all of the audio goes straight up. All the fans screaming, I can't hear them in the ring. So when I was in the ring with Steve or William Regal, I thought that the people didn't like the match because I thought that it was silent, and I was actually getting a little frustrated. Like, damn, what are they just waiting on Hogan? Like, why aren't they reacting? It wasn't until after the match when I got in the back, it got a little bit of praise from everybody, including Regal. That's when I was convinced the match was good. Because when I was out there, it sounded like this with 72,000 people.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Great question, sir.
Hey, Rob, welcome back to Orlando, man.
Thank you.
You mentioned Jacksonville TV house show.
Oh, I couldn't hear that.
You mentioned TV Jacksonville house show years ago. Two questions. One question, what do you remember of Rick Scott's South Atlantic Pro Wrestling?
Sorry, can you repeat that, sir?
What was your idea? What was your remember of North American Wrestling Association? South Atlantic Pro Wrestling was early in 1991. Other question was, what was your remember of Eddie Mansfield's International Wrestling Federation out here in Orlando, Florida?
I'm going to start with the first one. I didn't hear the second one. You might have to repeat that. But so yeah, I wrestled in the every little city in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Georgia, in the early 90s. 91, I started wrestling there for Manny Fernandez. That was South Atlantic Pro Wrestling. 1991. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet. And Manny Fernandez was the booker. The two top guys that were there at the time, one of them was a big Indian named Chris Chavis, who's Tatanka. Sure. Yeah, super cool dude. And another guy that was a top guy, really tough, jacked up dude. And everybody was, you could just tell he was a really tough guy. And then he was so athletic. I was watching him doing standing jumps before his match to warm up. And his feet looked like they were getting that high. And he's so jacked. I was like, who is this guy? And somebody told me that he's won the last 5 tough man contests in a row in Charlotte. His name was Vince Torelli, later on to be Ken Shamrock.
Yeah! Other question, Rob. First one, thanks for your time. International Wrestling Federation, Eddie Mansfield's group down here, you took on Mr. Jordan over the Hamilton title back in early '92.
Give us the first part of the question, but really project your voice loud. You're cutting a promo, brother. Okay.
IWF, 1992. Do you remember that year?
Sure. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, yeah, so in the beginning of '92, like January-ish, like I just turned 21 in December. It was around that time. I had just moved down to Tampa, Florida to pursue my wrestling career after South Atlantic. And I was wrestling. I was so excited and so hungry at the time. I remember Ron Slinker, who was going to be the promoter for I think it was called ICW in Tampa. He was talking about he was going to get this thing going. I was so excited. I drove all the way down from Michigan and I helped him open the Sportatorium in Tampa. I painted the bleachers. I hung a sign up from the roof outside. I was like, let's get this going. Because I've been to USWA and there was like 2,000 people there. Then I went to South Atlantic, not as many people. But I was finishing up there, and I was like, dude, let's see how Florida is. I was so excited. And I was wrestling every Thursday at the Sportatorium on Albany for a whopping $35. Yeah. And at the time, there was a promotion at Universal Studios in Orlando, and you got paid $50 there. Yeah. And they had TV. Now that was a lot more important to me, but here's the catch. The promoter, Eddie Mansfield, has a black eye on the business. Everybody, all the wrestlers were told if they wrestled for Eddie, they would be blackballed from the business and nobody would ever use them again. Because Eddie Mansfield went on 2020 and he exposed the business. Way back when people were doing that. It's the same 2020 show where Dr. D. David Shelf slapped John Stossel and broke his eardrum. On that same one, Eddie Mansfield said, he cut his forehead and said, red turns to green. And because of that, nobody was brave enough to wrestle for him because they thought nobody would touch them again. And it was a legitimate concern. Everybody knew that. I called the Sheik. I still had the Sheik then, my mentor, the original Sheik who trained me. Now he's passed on years ago. At the time, he was the guy for me to call for advice. I said, Sheik, everyone says don't wrestle for Eddie, but he's doing TV. It seems like a good thing. $50. Sheik said, fuck everybody else. Go work for Eddie. He's a good guy. And so I did. No regrets. That was among my first TV. I became the TV champion. Big wrestling powerhouse Tim Parker might have been my first belt. It was one of my first, probably my first TV belt anyway. Yeah, I've been winning belts for a long time. Shit, 92. It's IWF, International Wrestling Federation, out of Universal Studios. And out of that group, way back in 92, besides myself, the only other wrestlers still around from that group that I know of are Mr. Ass, what's his name? Billy Gunn. That might be good.
Yeah, that's a good one to be around, man.
I can't think of anybody else from there that's still wrestling. But funny enough, somebody tweeted me, one of the rock and roll guys, or not rock, you know what the name was? I don't know, flying rockers, whatever they were.
Some other rockers.
Dynamite rockers, I don't know, whatever they were. I saw on Twitter the other day that they're trying to have an IWF reunion. He was inviting me. I laughed so hard. Who would possibly go to that? And it wasn't even trying to capitalize on the fans being here for WrestleMania. This is in June. Invited me to come back to Orlando June 12th at some bar for an IWF reunion.
A big reunion. Rob, you've been so generous with your time, and we know you're going to be signing pictures, taking autographs and all that, but we do have one more question for you before people can line up and meet Rob Van Dam right over there. Question from the crowd, Corky.
Alright, ECW One Night Stand 2006, the crowd was nuts. How do you feel?
My kind of nuts, by the way. How did you?
How do you feel being a part of that crowd and the whole experience?
Well, this was a once-in-a-career kind of experience, of course. Hey, Boga. Obviously, I love ECW. It was the most fun that I've ever had in my career. Most of us that wrestled at that time will all agree.
It's a magical time. It changed everything. It changed the whole business.
So much artistic freedom that helped us develop into what we would become. It was a really good time. And so I wanted to bring it back to that, I said to Vince McMahon, why haven't you done a pay-per-view where all the ECW guys can come back and just do one night where it's all ECW guys? He liked the idea. That became One Night Stand. I couldn't wrestle the first time because I had knee surgery, so I was bummed. So on the second one, when I wrestled John Cena, and the crowd was so 100% for RVD and everything that RVD stood for, the ECW spirit, the non-WWE alternative to cool wrestling. And because of all that, there was so much going into it. And John Cena, obviously, he wasn't just Cena. He stood for and still does stand for everything that WWE is for. He's their foot that they put forward. And so that night was so special to me because it was like my dream come true. Not winning the WWE belt, but bringing ECW back, being showcased, my favorite style, being able to show off the way I wanted to on the WWE stage. That was so awesome to show the whole world, because ECW didn't get seen by as many people as WWE. And so that was the reason it was so cool, and the reason the whole crowd all wanted everyone to know that the ECW brand and style was the preferred one, and then knowing that that victory was moving forward, bringing ECW back as a third brand, I just can't tell you how happy I was, and that's how that felt.
Wow, great question, man. Give it up, everybody, for the incomparable Rob Van Dam.
Incomparable me.
For me, it means without comparison.
Oh,
Compared to
that's cool. One of a kind.
One of a kind.
One of a kind.
Rob Van Dam, you're the man. Give it up.